Good evening. Good evening. Actually, I have some exciting news. We have gained another subscriber. Welcome to our subscribers and viewers. Tonight's topic, and this is something I think Leon and I had a lot of fun talking to each other about while we were instant reacting to the presidential debate part 2 between Ms. Harris and Donald Trump. Now, here's the first question. We're all going to take turns to answer as quickly as possible, but let me throw it out to the man who was reacting with me. Leon, it's up to you now. Now that Kamala Harris has won several red states, what is the most vital thing she needs to do now in order to secure the presidency?
Well, first of all, she hasn't won any red states yet. The election hasn't happened yet. So, um, what will happen is everything will stay the way everything is at the moment until the election. But as far as the debate goes, Kamala Harris definitely did win that debate. Um,
Mm.
I don't think she needs to do much right now because I know after that debate that happened. Um, Kamala Harris's party members were go, well, minders or whatever. They were saying that was fun. Let's do it again. And I remember that, and I remember that because it was an official statement. And Donald Trump officially turned it down when he knew when he may be in denial that he won. He didn't win. He lost. So Kamala Harris really doesn't have to do much now because Donald Trump has refused another debate. He's going to have to roll the dice and do it if he wants to have any chance of winning this election.
What I meant by now she's won several red states is if you look at her rallies, she's been to she's won people over in Pennsylvania. She's won people over in Minnesota via Tim Walz. She's won people in, I think, Iowa. She's won several places. She's had a massive rally. She has booked out several places while she's rallying.
Yeah, but you know what? So is Donald Trump. And to be honest, if you want my honest opinion, that complete debate was rigged in Kamala Harris's favor. There were so many times where Donald Trump was muted. He was actually muted twice. And it got to the point where the mediators themselves were fact-checking Donald Trump more than they were fact-checking.
They weren't fact-checking Kamala Harris. Yeah, I know exactly where you're going on that.
So, and the thing is, mediators aren't actually meant to fact-check per se, or even argue with Donald Trump. They are there to question. Yep. So it needs to be balanced kind of thing. And I didn't see that was balanced at all.
That's why Donald Trump needs this other debate now, just to try and get that back.
I wish Donald Trump would just be Donald Trump and argue back at the mediators, because it really did seem like it was 3 against 1 rather than 1 against 1. And I just kind of think, look, if you're gonna have debate, make sure that the mediators mediate, not pick a side and then go after one candidate, because I didn't think that was fair at all.
What I absolutely loved is sitting down at the computer. She walks right up to him, puts her hand out, shakes her hand, she goes, "Hi, Kamala Harris." And I thought for a second, oh my God.
That was awkward AF. I was actually, to be honest, I'm not surprised that Kamala Harris did that. What I think should have happened is Donald Trump and Kamala Harris should have met halfway and shaken each other's hands.
Yeah.
It didn't. That seemed like the way that Donald Trump even though he did shake a hand, but it did seem reluctant. I think what Donald Trump should have done, should have gone straight up to her first, but instead it looked like Donald Trump just wanted to get this debate underway.
Well, and that was interesting because that showed a lot about Donald Trump, which is like, if you want to talk to me, you come up to me. And Kamala Harris is like, well, I'm coming to take your position, so I'm going to approach you. So there was aggression even in the way that they approached each other, to the way that they shook each other's hand. And I thought some of the things that Kamala Harris also brought up were a bit low under the belt. For example, like she was questioning Donald Trump's employment record. And I thought,
that was missing context. Yeah, I know where you're going with that, and that was missing context because
Yeah.
that was actually something that I was actually replying with Kat about as we were watching the debate live. Now, what was the context that was missing that Kamala Harris did not bring up was in April 2020 when COVID pretty much shut down the country, shut down the United States. The unemployment rate was up over 14%. However, when Donald Trump left office, it was back at around 6% or something along those lines. So the unemployment rate when Donald Trump left actually improved from when the lockdown happened.
yeah, I kind of felt that, look, when you use like a global pandemic as for the reason why everyone lost their jobs, well, what she's not bringing back is everyone was sick. Everyone could have died if Donald Trump didn't make those restrictions. So, I mean, can you imagine if Kamala Harris would have brought up the amount of people that would have died? No one would vote him in, kind of thing. So I thought that was, I thought that was kind of unfair, to be perfectly honest.
It was a low blow.
Yeah, it was a low blow indeed.
Next question, here we go. Do you believe that Donald Trump, this is Philip's question, do you believe that Donald Trump is being, what is that? Do you believe that Donald Trump is losing support of majority of the GOP Republicans? Will he keep losing more numbers of votes?
Okay, it's true that some GOP members have changed sides, which has never in the history ever happened for a really long time. But he still has his supporters. I'm not sure why they decided to switch sides. Maybe they thought that, okay, Kamala Harris isn't Joe Biden, and therefore has a better chance of winning in government. Maybe they think that. Or maybe they think Donald Trump is too crazy to be president. Or maybe some of the things that Donald Trump is saying is akin to being a dictator. So, there's obviously the reasons why they're wanting to switch sides. But does he have, no support? No, of course, he's definitely got support from the Conservative Party. It's just that some members have switched sides.
What do you think?
I think that's definitely the case. I think what Phil said was right. I think these guys that have switched sides thinking that he is too much of an extreme Republican, so to speak. When he says stuff, he really goes at it and he goes hard, probably a little bit harder than other Republican leaders would have done. I think that may be one of the reasons. Another reason is Donald Trump really, I don't believe should have been in this position to start with. I believe they should have gone with somebody with the experience and the maturity and the mature level to see reason with things. He doesn't. He just wants to go one way. He just wants to go straight ahead. And I think that has hurt the Republicans, so to speak. So that's basically what I believe about the whole situation. I think that these guys who have switched sides would rather see a seasoned politician rather than a seasoned billionaire just run to be the president or the challenger or whatever. I want to see someone with actual political experience. And Donald Trump, for all the good that he's done, and don't get me wrong, he's done a lot of good things, back in the day and all that sort of stuff. But these days, he's just like he's just basically the male version of the crazy cat lady, so to speak.
The thing
Too
is,
extreme.
Is that you're basically claiming that Donald Trump doesn't have any political experience.
No, I didn't say that. I said he has experience, but limited experience.
He was the president.
I get that. I get that. People just did. People, I think back then in 2016, they wanted to see another face in the ring, so to speak. And I think that's probably the reason why they went to Trump to begin with.
Well, I mean, look, I think that the American people were just kind of sick of politicians doing all talk and no action. And that's
Donald
why
Trump
Donald
was
Trump,
talk and action.
yeah, exactly. Donald Trump was talk and action. So he was doing his constant, yeah, we're going to drain the swamp. And he made a really good point in that thing, whereas it was like, when you guys talk, you talk about change, but you don't do anything.
Mm.
Whereas when I was in power, I actually changed things. I made sure that people were fired. And that's why he was voted in, because there were people completely taking advantage of America, completely exploiting the system, completely taking billions upon billions of dollars, and for no reason. And Donald Trump, when he saw them as you know, completely pointless to be there, or making America worse than it actually is, or completely incompetent, he just fired them. And he didn't care, and he didn't worry about firing them. He just, if he saw them as incompetent, he just fired them.
And got a
Done.
whole bunch of new people to come in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that, because he's a businessman and he's used to firing people when he sees incompetence, right? So whereas all the other politicians is like, it's like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. You know, we'll talk as much as we want, but we don't get anything done. And they weren't getting anything done. So,
And don't forget the whole Project 2025.
Don't start that again, because
you know what?
that is like a thought bubble from a group of people, not by Donald Trump. That has been said and done, and that has been run into the ground. And quite frankly, it has been used very effectively against Donald Trump. Let's not kid ourselves. It has been.
Okay,
But they need to stop using that,
I'm
because
so
that's just a
pissed off
low.
with
That's
that.
another one of those low blows.
I am so pissed off with sorry for interrupting. I am so pissed off with Project 2025 and everything that's in it. I think that it is the dumbest thing imaginable. I think it's a book of what not to do. I wouldn't be surprised if they watched an entire season of Monty Python and then got inspired. Basically, you know, it is literally the worst thing. If any of it was to be put into pass, America would be over. They would no longer be a powerful nation anymore. Like, everyone would just want to invade them. I just think that Project 2025 is a complete joke. It's a bunch of guys that were conservative that decided to create a booklet, but none of it, to be honest, no politician would be stupid enough to actually make this into policy. Like, none of it would be good policy. It would take a lot. And if Donald Trump took any of it from that book, no one would trust him. No one would trust him. And that's why Donald Trump's just like, yeah, I don't want to have anything to do with this book. I haven't read it. I don't want to know it. I don't want to know about it. It wasn't created by me, created by other people. Just, I'm not touching this with a 50.
And that's why he's distancing himself from it, because it wasn't written by him.
Yeah.
Next question. This is also another one of Phil's questions. Here we go. Leon, do you think that the debate was biased against former President Trump?
Well, we believe it. Well, I do believe in a way it was, because it did seem like, don't get me wrong, even though Kamala Harris, I don't know how it's pronounced, Kamala Harris or Kamala Harris, but she did win that debate. I mean, it did feel like, you know, when Donald Trump was going on his sidewinders, going on his rants like he was, and he did go on his rants a few times during that debate, the moderators were calling him up and fact-checking him on it, and they shouldn't have been doing that. Their role is to ask questions, and also it's up to the other challenger, Kamala Harris in this case, to rebuttal, not to be fact-checked like that. That's not supposed to be happening during a debate like this.
And
And everybody will find, there'll be fact checkers and stuff like that after, after the fact, after he says these things, and we'll figure out whether or not they're actually correct or they're not. But it's not up to the moderators to openly fact check him like that. So they basically ambushed him doing that. They shouldn't have been doing that.
when it came to the Haitians eating cats and dogs in Springfield, when I first heard that, I laughed out loud in front of a cafe. I could not contain myself, because when Donald Trump said that, I was like, that is the funniest freaking thing I've seen in politics to date. But then when I did my own research, I realized, no, that was actually happening. And there were Haitian immigrants abducting geese and, kidnapping cats and dogs and skinning them alive and then cooking them on the barbecue. So when Kamala Harris literally laughed at that suggestion, it shows me that she just completely dismissed what Donald Trump had said, even though there is more than 5 references to this actually happening. So when you have a president that is literally dismissing claims of this, I think that was just poor form.
When I saw that, when I heard that, right, and I did check out, my jaw dropped. I thought, are you serious? Because I believe this is something I think JD Vance had brought up originally, or one of Donald Trump's guys. Now, there was an incident regarding this, but it wasn't in Springfield. The report, as I understand, took place in Canton, Ohio. So he was right about it being Ohio. He was wrong about it being in Springfield. So that's the way I understood it. And the person that I believe was not Haitian. It wasn't even an immigrant.
Well, for what I heard, it was they were Haitian, but I mean, they were next door neighbors, so they could have been born in America with Haitian blood. But that was one of the complaints, that there was a next door neighbor that did actually kidnap a cat and put it on the barbecue and skinning it alive
and I think that was the report that I was partially reading of. The incident was in Canton, Ohio.
But when I first heard Springfield, I just thought, oh well, now
the Simpsons have predicted another one, right?
I just thought, now we won't know why Snowball has died just so many times.
Oh jeez.
That's all I can think about, I mean,
I could just see cats arming themselves for the revolution or whatever.
Wasn't there an episode on The Simpsons where they had dogs running around and I think it was abused?
Yes. Yeah, and I can tell you what episode it was. It was the Springfield Files. That was the one where they did a crossover with the X-Files.
Yeah, and I said, needs more dog.
They did it again.
They did
They
it.
did
Look,
it again.
Dang it, The Simpsons.
I mean, for me, everyone knows how I feel about Donald Trump. I'm a female. I'm a woman. I'm sorry. I am Team Kamala Harris. My heart is a Democrat. I think she won the debate fair and square. I really do believe she'll be the next, the first ever female of South Indian heritage or background to become the first female president of the United States. And I think she's going to make a great president. I mean, I'm not going to ask this next question because I'm just going to tick it off, because we've already answered the fact that they believes that they were biased against Donald Trump.
This is what I think. Do I believe that Kamala Harris won that debate? Yes. Kamala Harris totally won that debate. Did I think it was fair? No, I did not think it was fair. Okay. So, I mean, like when you have two hosts of a television show literally taking down your opponent, it's not going to be fair. But but there were things that Kamala Harris said that just blew me the F away, to be honest. Like for example, when Donald Trump, it's a well-known fact that Donald Trump doesn't really give a shit about the environment. He's not big on environment. He cares more about jobs than he does about the environment. That's pretty that's pretty well known, right?
Yeah.
What I didn't expect Kamala Harris to say is, oh yeah, we're just going to do fracking in Cleveland. And when she said that, I was like, what the actual F? Because I was like, hang on a minute, you've been supporting the environment for so long. Why are you changing your mind, Kamala? This is the reason why people are actually voting you in, because you love the environment. Why would you even think about okaying fracking in Cleveland? Everyone knows the environmental dangers of fracking. Why did you just say we're going to do fracking in Cleveland? And what's worse is that the other thing she said was, I stop saying that I'm anti-gun. I am a gun owner myself. And I'm like, hang on, what the actual? Yeah, I know that I know that you probably own guns for your safety, but surely you can see that you'd want to protect the children of America that keep getting slaughtered.
Well, technically, you're only supposed to use in America, I believe you're only supposed to use a gun in self-defense, not just to go out on a killing spree.
Yeah,
To protect yourself.
So I'm just what the thing is, right? How the Constitution, or the amendment, I should say, says it's supposed that if you run a legalized militia, you're allowed to own guns. That the law is pretty clear with that. But Kamala Harris doesn't actually have a militia. So why does she own guns? Obviously, to protect herself, but I think she's trying to appeal to gun owners, knowing that.
Yeah, that could be the case. She's trying to get the vote from people who own guns, gun owners.
Yeah, because I know that
supporting it.
In America, gun ownership is a big part of their culture.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be surprised if she's going, you need to take hold of this, because if you don't, Donald Trump will. But I did think it was funny that Donald Trump basically said, you know what, I was just about to give you a MAGA hat because you've got a lot of my policies down pat.
Which is, I believe that is partially true. I can't remember what policy it was that Kamala Harris had announced, but Donald Trump had announced that 1 month before. So there was one of them. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but she did pretty much copy it. So
I think in America, because they're the land of opportunities, the land of the brave, land of the free, owning a gun with a gun license is the norm over there. For us, even if we had a gun license, it wouldn't be the norm that every household carries a gun with a gun license. Because here, since Port Arthur, sure, now we've got more stabbings than normal, but over there, we don't have people walking into our schools and killing our kids. Over there, you've got metal detectors with kids, wearing bulletproof vests on top of their clothes just to go to school.
And that's scary, man, because I would hate, say we have kids of my own or whatever like that. I would hate to have them go through a school where they have metal detectors and you're forced to wear a freaking bulletproof vest as a kid.
I didn't like the fact where Kamala Harris said to Donald Trump, you're going to be hearing a lot of lies tonight, when they're both lying.
Yeah.
I really didn't like that.
That was a cheap shot.
I honestly thought that was a cheap shot. It's easier to basically just state what you're going to do for the country, rather than saying my opponent is a liar, don't trust him.
Last question, and this is a fun one. I wanted to end it on a fun one. What were your favorite highlights? I'll start. I have many. One, she went up to him and shook his hand, and you could see the prosecutor coming out of her.
That was a funny moment.
Yeah, for me. The other one was when she was looking at him, she goes, this former president, and she wanted to say what everyone was thinking.
I just wanted to hear an F-bomb. That would have been great. That would have been great viewing.
When you could tell she's squeezing her lips because she's saying this, like, say it, Kamala, say it, like, say it. And
Uh,
it's sort of
uh,
like
uh, uh.
you can
Well,
just
she
go,
wanted to seem like the calm one, and that's exactly what happened in the debate. Kamala Harris came across as the calm one. Donald Trump came across as the aggressive one.
and the thing is, what I loved about her is her, not just her tenacity, but the fact that she kept looking into the camera. She kept looking at the people, and she spoke directly to the people of America into the camera, where you could literally feel her presence, and she was talking directly. You know, I really applaud her tenacity and her power and her strength. And I think I'm hoping this begins a change for America where she will look at protecting kids, because now majority of kids in America are being taken out of schools by their parents because they're so frightened of sending the kid to school and never seeing them again, that they're having to homeschool them. So I'm hoping Madam Vice President Kamala Harris will look into that issue of, you know, telling telling the kids it's okay, you no longer have to wear a bulletproof vest.
Yeah, but you know what? Unfortunately, um, the violence and in America has gotten so bad that if they don't wear those bulletproof vests, they're basically dead children. Um, I don't know how to fix it. Maybe you need more kids to be homeschooled because it's safer at home than it is in actual school.
Yeah.
Maybe they just have to change the constitution. But
Well,
that's gonna be damn well impossible because there's gun lobbyists all across in the parties, and that's never gonna happen in our lifetime.
well, you know what I really didn't like about Kamala Harris was the fact that um she basically went against her own policies and thoughts and um preferences. It was almost like she was trying to say things to appeal to the right people when for the vast majority of her career, my thing was, and I'll bring this up again, when the fracking, you know, for the entire Biden administration, um, she's been against fracking. She's said she wants um, petrol taxes, and because of that, the economy is going through the roof. So interest rates are higher. It's been harder for Americans to survive. They've got not as many jobs, but they have a cost of living crisis. They were very good with their version of Medicare. That's what
And
they're actually.
Medicaid, yeah.
Their Medicare was actually very, very good. But but a lot of the decisions they made were a result of taxing things like petrol or anything that was carbon related, which made the cost of living crisis in America more more problematic. And I noticed that Kamala Harris kept saying, "You don't want to be under the Trump administration. Let's not go back. You know what it was like." Well, the thing is, under Donald Trump, life was actually pretty damn good. The petrol was cheap. Everyone had employment. Donald Trump basically created more jobs than Obama. Seriously. So so it was only the only thing that screwed Donald Trump up really was the
COVID, the
insurrection
lockdown.
and the lockdown. That's what screwed up Donald Trump. If it wasn't for the lockdown, Donald Trump probably would have gotten a second term.
I think, to be honest, I actually agree with that statement because if the COVID thing hadn't happened, the unemployment level would have stayed low. And unfortunately, when the lockdown happened, the unemployment rate went to the level that it did. And they were able to bring it back down to a somewhat decent level, but it was too late, unfortunately. There was a moment that caught my eye, and that was straight after they came back from the first break. And Kamala Harris looked him straight in the eye and said, "You're debating me, not Joe Biden." that was a big, to be honest, that was a big moment because I reckon that Donald Trump had his whole campaign to become the president of the United States again going one-on-one with Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And now that he's gone up against Kamala Harris, he is struggling. He is shot. He really can't get his points across now because everything was targeted towards Joe Biden, and now he's got Kamala Harris to deal with, and he doesn't know how to handle Kamala Harris at this point in time. But he's got to figure it out quickly because there is 51 days before the U.S. election. And I could tell you right now, and I can tell you right now because I am looking at a couple of maps right now of the United States, which way this is going to go. All the rusted on states, right? They're all going to go to either Donald Trump and also Kamala Harris, as you'd know, which would leave two states, but ultimately one of them will determine the presidency of the United States. And that currently right now is in the margin of error, and that is Pennsylvania. And I've said this all along, right? Without Pennsylvania, no party has 270 electoral votes. That is worth 19. Whoever gets Pennsylvania will have enough votes to become the president of the United States.
And that is
It'll all
Kamala
come
Harris.
down to Pennsylvania.
Well, it's a fight because it could go either way. But one thing I remember Donald Trump actually did say to Kamala Harris, which I laughed out loud about, was, okay, so Kamala Harris was trying to interrupt and speak over Donald Trump. And Donald Trump just basically said,
Quiet.
"Excuse me, it's my turn to speak now." Sound familiar?
I thought it was like, quiet, please.
Yeah.
So because that's what Kamala Harris actually said
To Mike Pence.
to Mike Pence. So they're basically listening to each other and then going, you know what, I'm not going to take this. But the thing is, I think Donald Trump just wasn't Donald Trump enough. It almost seemed like Donald Trump was holding himself back, and you could tell it in his eyes, and you can tell it in his posture, and you could tell it in his face. Okay, that he was holding a lot back. And I think the reason why he was holding a lot back is because he was probably prompted prior to say, listen, don't go full ape shit on this girl. It's not going to end well. But because he didn't go full ape shit, it doesn't look or feel or sound like Donald Trump.
There was one moment in there which I also want to bring up. I apologize for that. They brought up Obamacare. Now, the reason why Donald Trump said, like, he wanted to scrap Obamacare, but he didn't, because he looked at it and he was thinking, okay, maybe I won't scrap this. Maybe I can find a way to improve it. I thought that was a big moment, because the fact that even though Barack Obama was his opponent back in 2016, he didn't necessarily scrap Obamacare, which he quite frankly could have if he wanted to. He didn't. He wanted to revisit it and see if there was a way to improve it. I actually thought that was a really good moment there for Donald Trump. That was a strong comment, admitting, even though his opponent may have had a bad idea, how can we improve it?
Yeah, and there are other things where the abortion thing kept coming up.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, okay, oh god, you're revisiting that again. Let's just get this one thing straight. It was Donald Trump that literally decided, even though he's pro-life, okay, that he didn't want to make abortion a federal issue. So he passed it on to the states themselves.
Yeah, he handed the power to the states, so it's the states to
it's
decide.
really it's the states that decide whether abortion is legal or illegal. This is why in Texas abortion is illegal, but you can just go past state lines and have an abortion if you so choose. Now Kamala Harris wants it to be a federal thing and make Roe v. Wade
The law of the land.
the law of the land again. But let's be practical here. It's not really Donald Trump's fault, because Donald Trump said, despite my beliefs on whether a woman should have an abortion or not, I'm going to leave it off to someone else. So
He doesn't want to be the one to make that call.
He doesn't want to be the one to make that decision, so he passed it on to someone else. So Donald Trump really isn't to blame for making abortion illegal. It's the states that are to blame to make abortion illegal.
Do you know what I'm going to find funny? As I said, I'm a woman. I stand behind Kamala Harris. I'm very proud of her. I think the day she gets announced as president-elect, for me, will be the day that I will have tears streaming down my face in a happy way, because this will remind me of the day that Obama won, and I could not stop crying. I was so happy. I was so elated. I was so excited. I was so fired up and ready to go, and listening to his speech. And I think it'll coincide with what is it, with Martin Luther King Day, apparently, when she becomes president.
You know, the thing is, Kamala Harris isn't Obama. I loved Obama. I thought Obama was a great president, in my personal opinion. And he was a great international president. Donald Trump was a domestic president. Kamala Harris will most likely be an international president.
I would like to see her, how she handles dignitaries and presidents and prime ministers outside of the US when she's having to get onto Air Force One and say travel to Australia or travel to wherever, or have them come to her. I wonder how she'll handle the war that's happening in Ukraine, the war that's happening in Israel. I wonder how, she'll handle Putin. I wonder how she'll work to bring peace. And that's what I'm really looking forward to seeing.
While you were mentioning that, by the way, Kat, when you mentioned Martin Luther King Day being the next presidential inauguration day, that is actually true. That'll take place on Monday, the 20th of January, 2025. The United States President's inauguration just happens to coincide with Martin Luther King Day next year, which is January 20, 2025 on a Monday. There you go. That is, I just saw that, I was like, huh? And I just went and fact-checked it, and you're absolutely correct. So, there you go.
And I think it'll be a moment of...
That will be a real moment if Kamala Harris wins now, wouldn't it? It'll have have a new layer of significance.
But it'll be like, again, Donald Trump still has his followers, and they remember what it was like living under Donald Trump.
Yes, but now his followers are leaving his rallies in droves.
See,
people are walking out while he speaks.
I think that's a understatement, because when the press showed people leaving his rallies, that's only because he came close to being assassinated. So of course they're going to flee in droves after someone's came this close to a bullet to the head. So,
but it's not about the assassination. It's every rally he does now. Can you fact check that?
Which one? What would you like me to fact check?
Philip thinks that it's because he almost got assassinated, but it's every rally that he speaks at now. People, his cult followers, are leaving in droves, like they walk out while he still speaks. But it's got nothing to do with his assassination, because he now stands behind bulletproof glass.
Both parties do now.
Yeah, so they literally are getting up and walking away.
Yeah, see, like I wonder about that, because I remember when people were walking away because there was a gunman that shot up his thing. So of course they're going to run away and in droves because there's a gunman in the background. So that's why I'm a little bit worried about the spin that's been going on, where they have someone literally recording Donald Trump and people running away in droves, because
not running, walking, like they're leaving rallies.
Well, both Trump and also Kamala Harris took digs at each other when it came to that kind of line, because Kamala Harris did mention that during the debate, and that gave Donald Trump the opening to go, I'm not paying followers to come to my events. And I have seen pictures of that, but obviously I can't tell these days whether or not it's true or not. but I have seen that on, say, Twitter, on the likes of Twitter.
But that's not what I'm saying. Can you fact check that? Because Philip doesn't believe me when it comes to his followers are leaving rallies. Like you can see when it comes to Kamala Harris's rallies, she packs the place. But where he
Well,
does the same rallies, there's
well,
not.
Kamala Harris did mention that. However, there is no evidence of that. So,
But have you seen her rallies where it's super packed?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm not
well,
disputing.
that's where Donald Trump came up with the line, I'm not paying my so-called followers to come in and watch me.
Yeah, and Kamala Harris was, unfortunately, and if you actually look
No,
at
she wasn't paying them.
but if you kind of look at the people who show up to Kamala Harris's rallies, you'll notice that a lot of them are multicultural.
Doesn't mean they're being paid.
You don't know that.
Doesn't mean.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I'm a female and I disagree. I'm sorry.
Being
It
a
makes me
female
angry. I
doesn't.
disagree.
Being a female is of no consequence. Kamala Harris could be a male. I still don't care. But you shouldn't pay people to show up to your rallies.
I'm sorry, that's not true. I'm sorry. I believe it to not be true.
If
So
Kamala Harris was a male, I still wouldn't want him paying people to go to his rallies.
she's not paying people.
Okay.
I'm gonna agree to disagree on that.
Oh yes, the other question I'd like to bring in is, do you actually think that it is moral for Swifties or anyone associated with Taylor Swift's concerts to be registered voters before they can actually see her concerts? Because
No, that would just alienate her from half the fan. That would alienate her from half her fan base. No,
that was actually reported. And when I first heard that, I said that can't be real. There's no way that's real, because she would lose half her fan base. But apparently that was a thing at her stadium. And in fact, you told me about that.
It was something to do with she had registered booths or something like that, or she would like send out a message on Twitter or X about a website leading them to register to vote if they're above 21.
but I think that's a good thing. You know, encouraging people to register to vote. That is a good thing, and then it's up to the person themselves to determine which way they want to vote for. You know, because I know Taylor Swift has endorsed Kamala Harris, and I get that, and she has every right to. Just like everybody has a freedom of choice. In America, you have a freedom of choice. She's decided to make that choice. Now, so deal with it, people, and stop dealing with it in a stupid way like Megyn Kelly did when she went on a rant, boo-hooing Taylor Swift that she decided to show her support behind Kamala Harris. You know, what would have happened? I wonder how she would have reacted if Taylor Swift said that I was going to support Donald Trump. She wouldn't be boo-hooing it like that. But we still have the idiot so-called fans going out there and burning her merch. And I have seen footage of this. There's people that are Republicans and are quote unquote fans, or should I say now former fans of Taylor Swift, burning her merch. Why did you buy the merch in the first place? Do you think Taylor Swift is going to care that you are burning her merch? You've already paid for it, you dumb shits. What are you doing?
That is so funny. That's just like, how much is the merch? Oh, it's $25 to $50 US. Great. I'll buy that, thanks. Now let's burn it.
You've just given her the money.
What I do love about Taylor Swift is like now she's got Kamala Harris and Tim Moll's friendship bracelets that she's selling, and her Swifties, what they do is they go to her concerts and they buy merchandise and they buy friendship bracelets and they swap them with each other.
You know,
I've seen that. I seen that, and I can confirm this because when she did the tour of Australia, one of my friends, a former radio presenter, at the radio station I'm at. Now, she did the friendship bracelets thing. However, wasn't it I can't remember who it was, but said, do not bring the friendship bracelets into the concerts in Australia. Why would you do that?
I also saw the female cops as well swapping friendship bracelets with the fans, with her fans as
I
well.
love it.
But I think Taylor Swift is smart.
Oh yeah,
She's
she's genius.
very business savvy, and she's a genius when it comes to having voter registration booths at her concerts
Right.
and telling her fans online that if they're above 21, they need to vote to register, where they can register, and how fast they need to register, and that she's like me in support of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I think more power to her, because Taylor Swift is kind of like the new Elvis Presley of our decade, or our generation.
At least, yeah. She's been as far as the music industry goes, she's probably the most influential.
Her and Pink are the most powerful, because Pink believes in, giving kids books that were banned to read, but Taylor Swift has a message of, you know, you need to do this, we need change, we need to fight for democracy. This is where you can register to vote, find your state, speak to your congressmen or women, make your voices heard, register at my concerts. And it's sort of like she's got billions of fans who love her, adore her, and like will do anything she says.
But see, Taylor Swift is a massive influencer, and I dare to say, pretty much probably one of the best promoters I've seen. I'd even dare to say that she's probably a better promoter than Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is an amazing promoter. But I think Taylor Swift is probably better than Donald Trump when it comes to promoting. My issue with Taylor Swift promoting political ideologies is that they're not doing it because they like Kamala Harris, or they like the Democratic Party, or they even support policies. They're doing it because it's cool. And so when you basically vote on someone because you think they're cool, as opposed to voting on someone based off their policies, you can exploit a person that way. And that's what I have against it. But I mean, getting people or encouraging people to register is not a bad thing either, because it means that the people have more power on who becomes president and who doesn't.
Well, that's right. And what I love about Tim Walz is the day he debates JD Vance, he's going to make JD Vance look like a little kid. I mean, let's not get confused here, right? Kamala Harris was vice president for 4 years. But the thing is, this is her chance now to become president. But she didn't have, or she couldn't yield any power as vice president, because she was always being sent by Jill Biden overseas to become some foreign minister, instead of staying at home and focusing on key issues. Because you could never see Kamala Harris unless she was swearing in someone in the Senate, or she was presiding over something, or she was away talking to dignitaries, because Jill Biden doesn't like the fact that Kamala Harris was her husband's running mate.
Well, this is the argument that Donald Trump basically said was, you were the vice president. Joe Biden was, practically incompetent to the point where you kept saying he was okay, he was fine, when he clearly wasn't. His mental health was not in best shape. Most of the time he didn't know where he was. Biden was a complete embarrassment to the United States, complete embarrassment to the point where the United States seemed weak. So you had that going on. So the question is, who was really running the country? And you could argue, well, that's Kamala Harris. But if Kamala Harris is the vice president and Biden doesn't have the mental capacity to run, who was actually running? And everyone's saying, oh, well, it's Jill Biden. But Jill Biden doesn't have a right to control government. But Kamala Harris did.
But she was always being sent away doing something else.
Well, that's an excuse. But at the end of the day, she's vice president. Okay. She's not foreign minister. She's vice president.
Yes, I agree. But there was something that Megyn Kelly, and I do not like Megyn Kelly, don't come at me, did bring up that there was a picture of Dr. Jill Biden, all dolled up and everything, sitting in her husband's chair at the Oval Office with his jacket on his chair, looking at a folder which had information that she shouldn't be looking at, signing things she shouldn't be signing, sitting in the Oval Office meetings with her husband and other prime ministers and presidents from around the world and dignitaries. Now, the only person who did that was Nancy Reagan. She shouldn't have been with her husband at top secret meetings that she wasn't supposed to be part of. She shouldn't be signing things or reading anything. She wrote, as a teacher, she wrote his scripts for him. She told him where to go. And at the campaign, well done, Joe, you did so well. Yes, you answered every question. And I'm like, your husband's not a child, man.
The 5 stages of grief and denial.
Yeah,
Like,
but the other thing I have is that, okay, Kamala Harris was the vice president. Why didn't Kamala Harris take over? Why was it Jill Biden? So it either tells me one of two things. Either Kamala Harris was negligent or Jill Biden was unlawfully taking over. It can't be both, right?
I wouldn't say Kamala Harris was negligent. Again, even you said this, that she was always being sent away to some country, meeting other people. When Dr. Jill was always with her husband in his office. Who do you think, when they did the debate, Biden against Trump, and he almost shot himself, right? Because he had an earpiece in his ear. He was being fed things to say, and he couldn't even get off the stage. And he said, "Oh, I'm going to campaign for Kamala Harris and Tim Moss." Where is Biden? Nowhere to be seen. He's not even campaigning.
But the other thing is, like, Kamala Harris continuously said over and over and over and over again, Joe Biden's health is fine. He's as sharp as a tack. He's as sharp as ever been.
He's blunt as a butter knife.
Yeah, but that simply wasn't true. And I wish that Kamala Harris really had the guts to say, listen, Joe, you have to step down. It's really embarrassing now. We have to relieve you of your commands because you don't have the mental capacity to lead. And that's what I hate about Kamala Harris, is that she could have said, we need to choose someone else. You just cannot do this by yourself. I'm sorry. You need to stand down. Please, for the good of America, you need to stand down.
When they were trying to do that, Jill Biden started to campaign on her own. She started to campaign on behalf of her husband. And she kept saying, come November, we need to vote for Biden. Now Kamala's in charge. Kamala's gonna win.
Okay.
Anyway, I think that's it for tonight.
That's
We
it for
should wrap it up. Sorry that went too long. My apologies, it's my fault. But thank you to the newest subscribers and viewers. Let us know what you think in the comments. Please keep hitting that bell. That gives us a lot of content to get out to you. Thank you for the love and the support. We truly appreciate it. Thank you to my boys, Leon and Buckets. And we hope you guys have a great week. We look forward to seeing you guys soon. Peace and love. Good night.